morning to one and all present here. I'm Jabeena Shirin of class 10, studying at Holy Grace Academy, Mala. I'm standing before you to talk about the topic, victim blaming. As kids, it used to sound endearing when someone asked us, why did you have to walk on the edge right after you had fallen? It was a sign of concern, no matter how masked the blame was. We were asking for it, and we believed it as we wiped away the tears while the wound stung. And then we grew up, and those innocent counters were replaced with more serious ones, asking us why we were out late at night or why we were wearing a short dress was a retort to opening up about being assaulted or eavesdropped. Somehow, we are still asking for it, despite the fact that we lock our doors and windows, carry pepper sprays, and look sheepishly at a stranger who walks a little too close to us. Part of the reason why we do this is to also avoid the questions, so that it does not come back to us. That's what victim blaming is. We've all done it at some point, no matter how innocent or harmless they might have come across us. We blame the victim we shouldn't have, but we did. While it might seem inconsequential when it comes to falling off the edge, it gets problematic when we apply this tactic to more serious issues like an assault. Picture this. A woman wearing a short skirt traveling in a crowded metro gets groped and assaulted by a serial offender who has had previous records of doing the same thing before. Who is to blame? How you answer this question is proof of how you perceive reality, and more often than not, it's flawed. And it's not just India, it's America, it's Europe. Look at your news feeds, it's global. But then, why do we, society as a whole, continue to do it? The answer apparently lies in a deep-seated psychology as we have been given to understand. It's the idea that people deserve what happens to them. There's just a really strong need to believe that we deserve our outcomes and consequences. As human beings, we live in a bubble, believing that good things happen to good people and bad things to bad ones. The downside to this is when we try to justify our wrongful deeds under the guise of righteousness. We continue to believe that we are good, and so we deserve good. And to the people who bad things have happened to, well, they just deserved it. Plainly speaking, people tend to blame the victim so that they feel safe about themselves. The victim did something wrong, and as long as you don't do the same thing, you're perfectly safe. But that's hardly the case. In theory, it seems harmless a concept, but in practice, it ostracizes the victim. We as a society are telling someone they deserve to be harmed. They were asking for it, and we believe it. And there's another side of the story, the worst side, how we are conditioned to sympathize with the perpetrator who's almost always a powerful individual. We never blame the perpetrator for having taken advantage of a woman. Despite her circumstances, it might be that she was under the influence of alcohol or that she was wearing a provoking dress. We blame the woman. We blame her for being alone, we blame her for wearing a short dress, and we blame her for being the victim. We still live in a bubble idea that the victim had a choice and the perpetrator did not. And it's time to snap out of it, because victim blaming is never right. But before pronouncing our own personal judgments, can we take a moment to stop and consider this? A victim opening up about his or her assault, reliving the incident, every moment of it, along with the trauma of being shunned. And the perpetrator, who is more often than not a person of power and privilege, taking advantage of a woman's circumstances, being sympathized and supported for an assault. Now ask yourself one question: who has more to lose and nothing to gain? Thank you.